Before, we're at it again. I'm not going to thank all the sponsors today because they're in the catalog, except I'll mention the Finnish Arts Council because their funding came too late to be included in that one. The rest are in there. I did want to talk a little bit about what's going on today because our schedule slightly shifted from what's in the program. So already started since 9 a.m. this morning, low bill. At the other end of the hall, we're expanding. So check her out, she's on until 8 o'clock. Different action every hour. At 3 o'clock, as usual, Claude Whitman's radio piece continues. And then from 5 to 8, this is a change in the schedule. From 5 to 8, there's a durational performance in the Platinum Room, which is, of course, the room directly across the hall with Natalie the choral. And then, of course, our usual evening program.
No, we'll launch.
Oh, of course. And the other thing that I'm supposed to be organizing, at 4 o'clock, we have a book launch, publications that artists have brought, and so you can get your hands on some of that stuff. And at 4:30, as part of the book launch, Kurt Johansson will be
Special book related
doing a special book-related performance. Thank you, Joanna. So, another very, very full day. Glad to see you are all still here and upright.
Yes, and also Christian is performing at 3.
I didn't know if you wanted me to say anything.
Oh, well, it's alright. It'll be in public space, so it'll start from here, and I'll go outside for a couple hours and change places. So,
A little action if you want to look around the neighborhood, you might find Christian doing something similar. More or less between here and Queen Street.
Yeah.
Just to give you a head start and actually find it. Okay, great. So, thank yous to our volunteers, our tech crew, our everything. You all know we love you. Tanya Mars is hosting today's panel. I give it over to you.
Thanks, Paul. I would like to say, just in terms of the thank yous, thank you to the artists for coming and hanging out with each other and with us as much as we can possibly hang out with you, and making this week one of the highlights of my life, and I hope others. So thanks for coming. So today's panel is called Uncomfortable Physicalities. And to begin, we're going to change the arrangement because we don't like this arrangement. So if you would take your chair, we're going to make a circle because we don't want to have this uncomfortable yeah. So, circle. The other chairs. Yeah. Make a big circle. Nobody wants to sit with me? Come on.
You're the one that had the idea of the circle.
Okay, yeah. Elfie, now you have to scooch in a little. Scooch in. bossy. In case anybody noticed that. You don't need the chair. Oh, yeah. Perfect. Great. It's so much nicer to look at everybody. This is an old 70s feminist tradition to sit in a circle. I mean, probably traditions in other cultures and situations, but for me, it comes from, it's better to sit in a circle so everybody can see each other. So, on that note, the panelists are Eduardo Oramas from Colombia, Andrée Weschler from Singapore, Oramas, and Francesca Fini from Rome, and me from Toronto and elsewhere. So we basically don't want to have a big didactic talk, we want to have a conversation. Who here saw some of the performances? Okay, good. So I'm sure you have questions or comments about those performances. And after a brief introduction, we'll open the floor to your questions. Because it's a nice size group. So for me, I was noticing a couple of things. It was great to be in such an international panel. Everybody speaks a different language, everyone's from a different continent, and I think that's really cool. Despite that, there are commonalities in the work. I had seen Andrée's work before, so I had an idea of what was coming, but I had never seen Eduardo's work, nor Francesca's work. And I was really delighted to have that opportunity. We were talking earlier, just before the panel, about what the common elements in the work were, and endurance and putting ourselves in uncomfortable physicalities is not an unusual or uncommon tactic or strategy for performance art. So I was thinking about why we do that to ourselves and to our audiences, and what happens when we present ourselves and our bodies in that way, where there's something urgent that begins to emerge from the action, a sense of urgency and a sense of tension. With Eduardo, with Andrée, with Francesca, they were all doing actions where we wanted to help them. We wanted them to succeed. We wanted Francesca to be able to reach the ice. We wanted Eduardo to be able to blow up the canvas. We wanted Andrée to survive and not suffocate in the back, you know. And sometimes there are these confusing impulses to let the image unfold, let the artist take the risk, or to intervene. So that's my little intro.
El camino de la investigación.
The path of investigation.
So the starting point of this piece was the drug abuse. Yes. I was starting thinking what kind of corporality that subject brings, you know, and for me it's like drug addiction is you makes it's a lot of intensity and they brought you waste. That's clear. Yeah. So I'm trying to design these actions thinking about repetition, like like an addict, to do and try and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And also this image around the falling. Yes, in Spanish we said when, for example, when an addict take like some period without taking drugs, and suddenly he will fall. You said in English that
Relapse.
relapse, but in Spanish the word is recaer. So a new fall, and that image around the falling it start to evolve. Okay, so for me, it's like do actions that requires repetition, high doses of intensity, and produces waste. So I start to think about that and mostly to do things that accomplish this task. Okay. For me, this piece is really. I learned a lot of things by doing this piece for my creation work as a dancer and as a choreographer. Because in my work as a choreographer, I don't really like to choreograph dance movements. Yes, I choreograph actions. Yes, and one important thing that I learned during this piece was like if you are concrete in the actions, you at the end of the line you can switch the scene, the sign in one or another direction. And I was really careful about the actions, and then suddenly it appears that the signs could be pointed at the verdict part. So it's in dance mostly, well, not always, but it's too often that you think about one theme and develop like a history or a narrative around that, and then you like build it in a stage, and you follow the steps that you discover. You know the first scene, and also you know the final scene. Yes, and your work mostly is, well, this scene is about that and means this, and it's trying to say that thing, and let's build it. Yes, and you move to the other scene and to the other scene. I don't know this. I know there are many ways to approach the dance creation, but I think this is one like es muy conocida o se usa mucho, digamos.
It's very well known, or it's used a lot.
Yeah. So for me, to be concentrated in the actions, it like open me the path, and at the end, I point everything around a birthday party, and then I realized that this drug addiction, in somehow it's related to party. You know, you take drugs in a party, or yeah, it's a relationship, but it's become after the situation. For example, instead of soda, I start drinking water, and instead of putting the tail on the donkey, I was trying to apagar un cigarrillo en mi cenicero.
Put out a cigarette in an ashtray.
Yeah, so I hung an ashtray in the wall, and I was trying to burn it off.
Put it out.
Put it out. Yeah. So that kind of stuff, you know. So I keep the action, but the signs were redirected. You know. So that's a few words of the starting point.
Well, I think that when you were talking, it made me think about failure. It made me think about all three of the works and how there is an element of failure that's built into all of them. And so I know that Andrée starts from you start from the action. I know that Andrée starts from a different position. So maybe you can talk about your starting point for your piece.
At first, I want to say that I'm not taking any risk when I'm doing this performance. It's all under control. I'm not committing a suicide because if I want suicide, I will not invite you. I will organize it and nobody comes and save me. So I'm not dying. And I'm more building an image. Of course, it's difficult when I'm inside the bag. I can't breathe. I wanted to go to the essence of something, and I wanted you to breathe with me. It's a way of, I'm not a person who can verbalize, so it's like a scream in silence. So when you're inside the bag, you can't talk, you go to something very basic and visual. And I'm screaming in silence, and so that's why I was touched when people said that they wanted to help me, because this is what I was screaming. For beginning.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the red seeds?
Okay, so I had the red seeds. So I work by series, and I'm a visual artist. I'm a performance artist, but visual. So I work by series. I've done a bunch of work with horse hair, who looked like pubic hair, and physicality. Then I had a series of white, the color white, and I worked with basic material. It was like white porcelain, white eggs, baby powder. Only, and when I do a performance, I have only one material. I go to the essential. Me, my energy, my grandma dress. I was wearing my grandma underdress, and one material. And I try, because I collapsed it when I started to perform. I've done performances and I collapsed. It was a disaster. That's God. So now I decided I go to the quantity. I cut everything. So it takes me a long time to create a performance, because I have to find this material, very basic material. And then I had this series in black. And it was black stocking, it was Chinese ink, it's the picture on the catalog, the trash bag, the garbage bag. So for 4 years, and of course there's a meaning, blah blah blah, we have to do this. And then for the last 2 years, I decided I have to go out of this darkness. So those love seeds come from Southeast Asia. They come from a tree, it's called saga tree, because I live in Singapore. And it's a huge tree, it's beautiful, the trunk is big like that. And then those small seeds drop on the floor. You can just pick them up, and your mosquito bites you. And they are called love seeds, saga seeds, love seeds. And teenagers, they pick them up, and when they have a few, maybe they give it to the person they love. And they're so beautiful. There are many people collecting them, and I'm not the only one who uses those seeds, because they are very confusing. And I love them. I just thought, I just import them in my work. So I had to material. But sometimes I just put them there, and I've been because they are seeds, and they are love seeds, supposed to be love seeds. So I thought maybe every time I would plant them, they would bring me something so I can get out of this black. And so when I performed, I was in my bag, and actually it was nice, because when I moved, it's the first time I tried these seeds and I was very scared that they break the bag and that I cannot perform, because if the bag breaks, because I don't try, right? So what will I do? My performance is kaput. But they were very soft and smooth, and when I was moving, it was very kind of toy inside. For me, it was kind of toy. A good feeling. They were moving along, because it was so difficult to breathe, I had to focus and look for the air. There was space getting tighter and tighter. But those ones were with me, and I thought it was kind of amusement and helped me to endure the performance. and to finish the love seats. So when I decided to perform with the love seats, I had my own collection, and then I didn't have enough, so I asked my friend. I put on Facebook, I said, who has some love seats? And a lot of friends. And sometimes we don't know who are our real friends, because there's unexpected people in Singapore who say, I have my collection for very many years, so I got many friends who giving me those love seats. And so they were with me somehow. I had my friends with me in my bag, so I remember love seats, no candy. But I sometimes explain, but I think we don't have to understand everything when we say performance. Because if you think they are candy, reading is a self-projection. So when you read my performance, you see yourself.
Love seats. A nice segue into both the red. There was a lot of red in Francesca's performance, a lot of red, and also a sense of failure and success. Do you want to talk a little bit about your starting point?
Yeah, my starting point actually is like in any performance that I do, I try to somehow, always start from an image, and or something that probably I read or before when I'm thinking about building a performance, something that really touched me, that I saw on the news, and maybe I just archive in my mind, and I start also working on it in a subconscious situation in my dreams, and I read, for example, I read that the total equality of sexes. This is a provisional forecast. I don't know. Actually, I can't even tell you what university, what newspapers. I just read it and I just stick in my mind, and then I just start thinking about it. The total equality of sex will be reached in 2098.
Can you translate that into Spanish for Spanish speakers? Can you say that again?
The equality of sexes will happen in 2098.
La equidad de los sexos fue pasada en el 2008.
No.
90.
The equality of sexes will be reached
Oh, va a ser
2098.
En el 2098 la igualdad entre los sexos va a ser alcanzada.
I don't really know what kind of statistics, what kind of studies they did, but it's really strange. The total equality of sex will reach also because the world is very big, agriculture has its own way of treating women, men, but somehow I don't know, but it's a nice, kind of humoristic and crazy, surreal image. Because I will be dead also. I'm thinking about, oh my God, I won't be, able to see the twins in my lifetime. So it's like very strange thought. But since I'm a very humoristic person and always find the humoristic side of any situation, even the most tragic somehow. Woody Allen said that humor is tragedy plus time. So this kind of equation, tragedy plus time is the humor. So you can make humor now and laugh about things that are tragic, but somehow time gives you the perspective to think about it. So this kind of time and perspective and putting the total equality of sexes very far away from the time that I'm living now, somehow brought me to develop a performance about the past, to look backwards on all the imagery of and iconography of female in the past, using archival material, and build a performance starting from that kind of iconography. And I use a lot the imagery of the 50s and of the 70s, the 60s and the 40s in my performances, and it's something that I like to do, and so I just look backwards and try to just have a perspective of the future somehow. And also I think that we should we should really go on, not relaxing, not just relax in our position as feminists, but just go on fighting, because actually, you know, in many countries, I live in a country where it's not a big deal anymore. I mean, we can just, you know, fight for little things, but I mean, we should just go on fighting, because we are not just a little castle that we are, you know, like very closed inside, and we can defend the position that we reach. There are other places in the world that we should start thinking about, even if it's not probably politically correct. I'm not. So and thinking, and if you just start from your own culture and make fun of your own culture for making a statement, you can also somehow influence other cultures. So that's what I was thinking about.
Okay, so I don't have any really brilliant thing to say about anything. That's not true. So I would like to open the floor for conversation. So if you have a question for anyone, you can even ask me a question. Although this is really not about me.
How
Yes.
do you decide to put these different performers together? I mean, you know, because it's not really thematic, is it?
What the panel?
No, in the actual
The
program.
evenings,
Programming?
the evening programs.
Oh.
You want the questions, right?
Hi, that's an odd question. But we just battle it. We select work as a collective that we think is going to be balanced and balanced kind of programming. And when we make a long list and we ask people, and some people say no, and some people say yes, and then we get to a short list, and then we look at the work, and we know that artists are not going to do the same thing, but they're probably going to do a similar thing.
You're talking about the selection of the evening or the selection of the whole festival?
No, it's just that when Tanya started, she started talking about, well, we can see commonalities, right?
Oh, yes.
And
These-
so then I was thinking, well, and the panel, you know, the topics for these talks too, sort of pull certain things out of the air. But is that, you know, is that?
Oh, you mean do we work thematically? No, I think what we do is we choose work that we like and artists that we're interested in, and then we try to bring together those things. And then I'm just bearing witness to those commonalities in retrospect. You know, I was trying to make a conversation between these three people who didn't know each other before they came here, right? We never met.
No, we never.
No, so none of us. It wasn't like a boys' club, you know, or a girls' club. But he's not so macho. Anybody have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to, it starts with Eduardo, but actually I think anybody can answer it as well. Because you're saying you started, for your performance, addiction was the beginning of it. But I think many people would watch your, well, okay. I watched your performance. Addiction is not the first message I would come away from. I see it, of course, and when you say, oh, of course, that's so clear when you describe it. But of course, I have a whole other process in my head of what I saw and what I felt from your performance. That maybe addiction is not the thing I would think if someone says, oh, tell me about Eduardo's piece. I would say, oh, it's all about addiction. So, in fact, that's one of the last things I would say about it. So I'm wondering if that bothers you, or if you feel now, having done it, it's still about addiction. Or is that just a starting point?
Now, yeah, it's a starting point. You know that is what yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to say it in the first place. You know, I don't want to talk about anything.
Yeah,
I want to do things. That's for me. It's like at different, you know, when you know in your head the whole piece, it, for me, is closer to try to say something, you know, to know things, and I'm not really interested in the audience to understand what I'm trying to say, because I don't want to say anything. But for me, it's important to have to leave open doors. So if you read, as Andrée was saying, that everybody approached the performance in his, by reading through his own perception and his own, you know, point of yeah. So I think what I'm interested in really is to make some kind of exchange of engagement with the audience. You know, I don't really feel like the engagement is through understanding. Yes, no, it's other things. It's probably to share an experience. But I know everybody has a different experience. It's not the same experience. Yes, but we are like sharing the space, we are sharing time, and we are like present, everyone, you know. So the important thing for me is so if you don't see addiction, it's perfect. If you saw it, it's perfect too. Because I'm trying to do things, and that's my job. Your job is like read whatever you want, but the feedback is really nice, because talking to me about the experience, how the experience was shared.
Shared. Well, interesting, just to make a connection. Paul is saying he didn't get that. You're telling us now about the addiction part. I agree. That wasn't the first thing that came into my mind. But there was this sense of doing something very difficult and then sharing. And I was very curious about the audience response. And if you think about drinking games, you know, and where people are going,
Sure.
yeah, you know, it was just like, if you think about your initial reaction and your action, how did you feel about this audience response, which was a performance that was so much like a soccer game, you know, or something?
Well, for me, it also was really, I was touched by the audience, because that kind of response also it's brand new for me, you know. This year I made this piece 3 times. The first one in Berlin, the second one 2 weeks ago in Miranda, and last. And those 3 were amazing. Like the audience was absolutely engaged with me, and I can say that it's like the very it's I not had this feeling again before. I think that the performance are changed because I'm changing too. So the way I embody the performance is changing, and for me, like the first times, I think I was more closed. So I keep like a character, you know, like more serious. I don't laugh. I really try to see people all the time. You know, it's important to me to see all people's eyes and somehow tell we are here. Yeah, I'm not alone, and I don't want to be alone, and I'm aware that you are seeing me. So this year, it's really incredible. It's really new for me because everybody is really into it. In Berlin, there are two girls who came out of the audience and helped me to rise the cake. So they pushed me. They run with me, and when I jump, they still running and push me, and I can't blow up the candles because these two girls helped me. So it's incredible. And in Robin, also in the cake, there is Bojana. Bojana at the end blow up the candles. Yes, and I was starting to wear out my harness, and suddenly the candles, which by the way are excellent quality, start again, and that was really amazing because the audience also were like, so I wear the harness again and tried again. Yes, and here you sang me, and it was, I never had a birthday song before. So it's really touching for me, you know, and that's these days someone told me, for example, that they saw a change in the cake part, and they told me that I became too emotional and not so physical like at the beginning. So then I became so emotional, and they told me that probably that is not a good idea. But and I understand what that comment means. No, other guys say me, you don't have to be a hero. You the audience want for me like succeed, and so I became a kind of hero. And she don't know it's not a good idea for you to be a hero. But what I think, and I am interested in engagement, and it's kind of a borderline between how emotional can I feel. So if you sang me a song and it's really mean for me, it's how, como no ponerme emocional.
How can you not be emotional?
Yeah, so because I'm trying to share an experience, so it's give me so much energy, and I really want to try it again. And it doesn't matter the failure. Yeah, it's about other things, and yeah. So it's.
I have a question for you too. So you say you're a dancer. So in the other, have you done other performance work than this birthday?
Not a solo performance. I work with a couple of friends in interdisciplinary work, and we also make a performance in a more big scale. But it is not only me.
And in those ones, there is this uncomfortable physicality, or it's only you?
No, because it's not. I don't. Well, in my dance, my choreographies, I use tasks, and that task often generate uncomfortable choreographies. So, because I think this kind of task, these restrictions, make the body to resolve in a lot of ways, and I think that is powerful. You know, when you change, when you have to change. So yes, the uncomfortable varieties arise somehow, and well, that I think that I am like an energetic person. So I for now I don't. That's what we were talking about, but you know, like I support performance, and I really like them. The smooth time that he brought to us. I think, I cannot, you know, because I really need to challenge my body somehow, or to use my body in another different way, probably.
Okay, so enough about Eduardo. Anybody? Yeah.
I want to go back to something Francesca said about time and history, because your performance dealt with these sort of 50s and 60s media images that also had this really contemporary aspect of technology in it, right? And the projections and the sort of iPhone or smartphone that was recording you and being projected at once. So it read as very contemporary to me. And Andrée, your performance read is very timeless to me, even though you have this industrial garbage bag. And Eduardo, I read your performance as really contemporary as well, even though there, other than the cake and the 7-Up, there aren't a lot of markers of it being in this current moment. So I'm wondering if maybe each of you can speak a bit about how important it is in your work to refer to this time that we're in.
Well, it's well, I work a lot with technology. So, but in my work, technology is always some sort of instrument. Because I think we work with any artist to build something, to create something. But technology is very important because I live in technology, in a technology time. And it's a way of communicating, and it's a way, especially somehow, is a language that everybody can understand globally. So the iPhone and this kind of selfie, which becomes really like really grotesque, you know, because I'm actually selfieing myself while I'm stuck in an icicle, and actually that image was streamed on the video chat. I don't know what happened in the video chat. I'm going to read the messages, or I think I got a lot of friends. but you know, it's like, and then it was streamed in this video chat, and the stream was grabbed my computer from a web page. So it was somehow streamed on the internet, and also you could see it assembled with a lot of other stuff and videos of the commercials of the 50s and the 70s on that particular location. But it was actually streamed on Bamboozer, this streaming video chat global network. So, and so this it's a way of playing with language, with contemporary language, and with a lot of different instruments that we normally use. Actually, I don't use an iPhone, for example. I bought an iPhone, actually it's not even an iPhone, it's just a smartphone, just for this occasion because I needed a wireless webcam. But when I saw the image, I recognized that the image was the one that we see on Facebook, you know, like this kind of celebration of ourselves, because we are somehow achieving the Andy World's 15 minutes of fame in our everyday life and social networks. So somehow it's a way of playing with contemporary iconography, but also playing with some roots of this iconography that we can already see in the Western culture after the Second World War, where somehow all the language of contemporary language is built, especially in the States, and contaminated all the world in a bad or good way. I don't know. It's a reality. So that's what I'm playing about with this kind of languages, mixing in a sort of steampunk contemporary way, old images, vintage images. Also because I really am a fetishist of vintage images. That's I have to. There is no conceptual. There is no explanation, or I can't even explain why. But somehow I feel that that kind of image is very important. Also in my dress, also in the way I act, and it's also an uncomfortable physicality for me. because in life I'm very, sport person. I always wear always in black. I always wear comfortable shoes, and when I perform, I always wear these incredible dresses and high heels, and I put myself in a sort of uncomfortable situation, which is not my daily life situation, and that's very, it's important for me also because it gives me some sort of difficulty, also a challenge in my movement, in also some sort of very uncomfortable sensation, because I show myself, and that's not comfortable actually, but it gives me some strength somehow. It's also very narcissistic somehow, if you think about it. But that's about the work about time. The work on time. I work a lot on time because I think that especially there are some languages or some period of our history that really we have to still to reflect on to understand our present.
And then from technology, you jump into another world. It's more intimate. It's also contemporary because it's my world. It's very feminine. It's what I have around me. The garbage bag comes from my mom's kitchen. I use lipstick. It's it's my own world. So it's contemporary because it's more diary. It's like a diary world.
I like this word contaminated. That those what I call nostalgic, my first response to the 40s, 50s, 60s images in the film were that they were nostalgic, which they are in one way, but that they have contaminated the world.
Of course.
You could think about the power of the Western image, or just Western values on the world. It's pretty strong. We were talking about this before the panel. We were talking about feminism and Latin America and machismo and how maybe that there are still many ways in which equality has. I mean, that there's still work to do. We need to be vigilant.
Yeah.
But why do you? Okay, speaking. Why do you think? Why do you want to be in high heels and dresses and? Oh, go ahead.
No, you were asking a question.
So what is it about that uncomfortable physicality? Is it the flip side of your personality?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that I'm not like clinically bipolar, but I think that I am culturally, for sure.
Culturally bipolar.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I have this kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's really strange. I mean, I'm attracted, and somehow I reject that kind of image at the same time. So it's really something I have to. Still, I have a lot of time. Even if I won't see equality of sexes, I have some time to, in my lifetime, some time to reflect about my own, contradictory relationship with the femininity.
Yeah. Great.
Yes.
I felt that.
Also, I'm anorexic, so I live in this kind of contradictory relation with my body for a long time. So, I'm still working on it. I think that performance art is some kind of therapy for me, in a way that it's very deep.
Well, I have many different questions and observations on Francesca, because, of course, as I said immediately before, it does have that, and it recalls all the really fantastic feminist work that was done in the 1980s, which Tanya did, I myself as well, other artists worldwide. And a lot of it was this crossing back and forth between, the spectacular, and the nostalgic of images, and being ourselves, our bodies ourselves, kind of. But it is interesting to me to observe that the enduring power of those 1950s images of femininity. If you go down this Queen Street and look in a dress shop, that's what people are wearing, not this crowd of people, but that's, and I was recently in Shanghai, and it's a party. Like, everybody's in a party dress all the time in Shanghai, in certain parts of town. The main primary, which used to be the big, communist department store where a tourist was the only place you could buy anything. It's the main corner department store in Shanghai, and it's now Forever 21. It's huge, massive. So it is, I'm really interested in how our contemporary young women and men of all genders now perceive those images. I'm really kind of, I'm very, I'm seeing them again myself. I'm going into this territory again, which, it's kind of like, oh, been there, done that. Totally unresolved. Totally unresolved. There is a been there, done that where you go like, no, you haven't, it's not finished.
2098.
It's not finished. It's not finished, and this is like 30, 40 years later,
Yes, you'll never get rid of the images or anything that goes with it. It's like,
I'm sorry?
You'll never get rid of the images, so I think that every generation that comes back and looks goes, oh! And like, easy to buy into it, because it's generally very happy.
Yeah, the other observation I wanted to make that was so key to feminist work is this deconstruction and reconstruction and of language, and of pointing directly to language as the source, and as you indicated, technology is also language. So, but in that very fundamental way of, breaking down and reassembling the fairy tale.
Yeah.
And because rebuilding in a sort of way that it becomes completely nonsensical. And the fairy tale
Well, it's nonsensical.
Yeah.
And that's why they're breaking it
it's
down.
completely true.
They're breaking it down and building it back up, points to that it's the
Yes.
So I just want to make
Well, that's also
that's
something that it's a tradition of talking about time and looking backwards. I have to say that one of the most important influences in my work is the Italian futurism, which was a movement of the beginning of the 20th century. So that's somehow it's works a lot with language, the construction of language, and then started with other tradition, the surrealistic tradition, poetry, visual poetry, mixing together words in a nonsensical way and trying to find another meaning, starting from a visual approach. So it's that kind of. That's why I also somehow I'm so also attracted to vintage kind of image, because I somehow my inspiration comes from past all the time. I don't know why, I'm very attracted to what was done by the avant-gardes in the beginning of the 20th century, and this somehow gave me a lot of elements to work with in a contemporary way. So a kind of performance which is some kind of synthetic theater that synthesize meanings and images in a sort of box full of things and layers, and I work a lot with layers. So that's probably also the influence of the deconstruction of the fairy tales comes also from that kind of experimental poetry that was done in that period.
I had a quick question right there where you are, because I thought about this too. I thought about the way that you use sort of avant-garde, let's call it an experimental film, right?
Yes.
But it's actually replayed through through the notion of music videos idea of what that was, which is sort of interesting, because I use music and sometimes use video, and I thought at the end of your performance, it raises another question, which is, okay, so you have this other thing, and you stop being your body, and you go, okay, look at this.
Yeah.
Or listen to this, right?
Yeah.
This is, I can't compete. I have competed with this, but now I'm not going to compete with it anymore, right? So you let it. But I'm interested in that because, particularly with the sound, it was like the images, the montage and collage was one thing, and yet it was like the speakers were pulsing backwards and forwards with what sounded like whatever part of a vocabulary of earlier avant-garde film, but you've already retranslated it because it's already being retranslated.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
So,
totally retranslated because actually.
and I know that you do stuff with TV, so is there anything you want to share with us about?
Well, the video, you're talking about the video at the end of the performance, that was completely reconstructed because actually the source was, of course, archival footage. And of the 50s and of the 70s and of the 60s. But then the figurines, the women, the people were cut out from their own context, from the original context, and put in a 3D layers. And so their situation and their meaning was completely rebuilt in a new way. Were completely decontextualized from the original context, narrative context for their original environment. So it was some sort of conceptual reconstruction of the past, if you think about it. So it's like in a collage, exactly, but it was in a collage where they were losing their original meanings, and so of course they
Well, what is the question I was trying to get to is what is the relationship between the history of music video? Because music video was already appropriated all that stuff and you know that when you show that stuff, it's also reverberating with different generations of audience who have also seen what we call music video, right?
Yeah, it's not really a music video.
No, but I mean the aesthetic. I don't mean.
The aesthetics. Yeah. Well, the aesthetics. I choose the kind of aesthetics for my video art work. I'm a video artist, and I actually what I generally see, especially when I was younger, was music videos. So I actually grew up with that kind of culture, and there's always also this is a personal taste. Of course, everybody has some sort of personal approach. I always find synesthesia between sound and action in my performances and in my video work. There are performances in which I wear sensors and I create music and videos through the movement of my body, because it's like I try to find this kind of responsiveness of music and video and everything in a sort of big opera with Wagnerian kind of situation in which everything is connected together. It's it's a way. It's not a very performance art approach. It's more theatrical, but that's what my aesthetics is like this. So, it's
Well, that also speaks to the futurist.
Yes, exactly.
Philosophy of the theater, the music, the sound art, the noise art,
the total art. Yeah, the total art. Total art, exactly. That's actually, it's my obsession. So every artist has his own obsession. Mine is to create the perfect cyborg
music, video, it's everywhere. Feminist cyborg.
One thing that really struck me last evening was, how different your performance was from things that I've seen before, especially here, and I mean in Toronto. It had a real. It really felt like it was something that was coming from Italy, which tends to be one of the more isolated kind of artistic regions, I'd say, out of Europe. And so like another early kind of Italian reference would be the strata, metaphysica, theater code, and then but the really strange arc that all of this takes through Italy, like montage becomes a mode of communication for Mussolini and the fascists,
of course.
And then you have this kind of 50s, 60s, 70s sort of surrealism of taste, like Fornasetti, in design, so it's really complicated. It's not just something that's been handled by the avant-garde. And you go to Italy today and you see very kind of, well, maybe not today, but recently, Forza Italia, the right-wing movement, really has a very kind of sophisticated media
communication
outreach.
Yeah.
I think it's just an observation.
That's of course, everybody comes from, I was raised with this, bombardment of design and powerful communication as far as image and design is concerned. I am actually daughter of an architect and designer. My mother worked in the fashion industry. I mean, you bring your own history. I mean, Italy is like that. I live in Rome, I live in Milan. It's impossible not to be affected. It's just.
Oh my God.
It's like it's constant, and it's constant also this kind of art, which is some kind of a celebration of visual extravaganza. I don't know. It's like you're influenced by the thing that you do and by the environment. I live in Rome, so whenever we go around, it's like this kind of Baroque theater, open air theater.
Berlusconi is kind of like a pinnacle.
Yeah, it's actually it's the demonstration. I think I know him, but there are a lot of people in the world that can prove this. How communication, mass communication, so very sophisticated way can be really dangerous. Because if it conveys and delivers the wrong message, because in a very cool and very nice way, it can really trick you in a very bad way. So it's just it's like I don't know. Actually, it's still a nice person, nice guy. I mean, everybody loves him somehow. He's very wrong for our country, but he still had somehow created this kind of nice guy image. And this is not going to be destroyed because he was very good in this. To use the media, to use communication against us. So it's the powerful of. I understand what you say about how my performance is Italian. I understand it's completely through.
I was just going to have it. We can't forget that Hannibal Lecter ended up in Florence as well. I don't know if you're familiar with this reference to Hannibal Lecter eating the brains in Florence, right? He ends up in Italy to actually consume the brain. So I love that image of the brain being
just eating the brain. Yes, and besides that, there's a lot of reference. I don't know if you heard. I'm also really I'm a fan of cheap sci-fi movies.
Oh yeah.
Especially the American one of the 50s. I could stay hours on the internet to collect and see this kind of stuff. I mean, you can find the most interesting images to start with for a new work. And there's one movie that is like incredible. The Brain That Wouldn't Die, I don't know if you see it. It's incredible. And you see in all the movie, there's this actress. I mean, the story is of a couple that is driving in this American beautiful street, road, and then they had an accident. They have an accident, and the woman dies. And since the male, the guy, the husband or fiancé is a doctor, he cut her head and connect the head to a strange machinery and keeps her alive. Just the head. Just the head alive. So, and you see all the movie, she is in this box, this head like this, with all these things around, and that's really amazing. And strange images, a strange image, and that can be somehow recall a lot of horrible things happening also today, but you know, it's just, I don't know. Also, that's an image from where I started, having this head and playing in this kind of science fiction, cheap science fiction kind of situation, and also eating the brain. As I told you, I am an ex-anorexic. I've been anorexic 3 years, and I just recovered by myself with no help from psychiatrists and anyone. Just because when I went to the doctor last time, he told me, you know, your brain mass is shrinking. It's like you lost all your body fat, and so your body is just heating your brain and your muscles, and because it doesn't find anything to eat. So that was like, oh my God, I'm eating my own brain. You know? It was like, it was horrible, you know. It was like a nightmare, a horror movie nightmare. So I just, from that point, I started eating again. Because, I mean, like the brain, and I still have some kind of lucidity of intelligence to think that I was just, that for me, ideas and thinking and study and reading was the most important thing. So I just recovered from this disease that is terrible. So, so that's also eating your own brain.
I'm curious about this idea that equality of the sexes will be achieved by 2098.
I don't know where they found this.
And what does that, I wonder what that looks like.
They're so precise. 2098 is very precise.
And so what were the markers of this equality? Like how would they have known? How will they have known? Because how that too.
Every time that I see in the news, also in papers that are really like serious, they have these statistics and these forecasts based on something that is happening now, and you can there are universities that does this kind of thing. I really don't know how they find these forecasts. It's really strange. But they have some kind of mathematical, I don't know, calculation thing. Yeah, it's like probably they do. Of course, they do a study about what's going on now, how things are changing, the speed of change of this kind of relationship in any country, and they do a calculation. I don't know, but it's not really important. I don't think it's true. I think it's probably we need more time, even. But the thing that it's nice because this date, like 2098, it's like I don't know, 1984. You know, these days, it's like really. I found it very humorous, and so from that kind of thought, I started a performance. That was actually looking in the past.
And then it kind of came and went, and
Yes.
nothing much really shifted, it didn't seem. So I suspect that 2098 really isn't going to be
Yes.
a complete equality of the sexes.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that they are doing a study,
Yeah.
because that's the problem. The problem is that they're doing a study to think when
When
we
will it
will
happen?
be able to actually these of course it's not that we can see it.
I think it's a good problem. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes.
Oh,
Because I have something actually for Andrée.
great.
And I don't know if it's a question, but it's a it's part of a conversation. So and it has to do with this uncomfortable physicality, because you said I'm a visual artist, but actually I think it's something else, because we're sitting here and I see you touching your ring, which is look at your rings, they're very tactile, it's tactility, I think, is your performance, and it took me into thinking about how I responded to your performance, because of course when I'm watching it, what I actually want to be doing is touching those love seeds. I want to be involved physically with your performance, with you. It's in a way that I don't. Some performances I'm very happy just to watch, but your performance, what's unsatisfying for me, and it's not a question of success or failure. Maybe it's a grand success because I can actually feel it physically in my body. You talk about the smoothness of these seeds and how satisfying that is for you, and that's exactly what I wanted as the audience. That I want to also be, because I have my ring and I feel it too, the same way you're touching your ring. And it's that's what I'm feeling from your performance, and I'm curious about if you have anything to say about that, of this desire to go to the tactile. See, I said it was only, I don't know if it's a good start.
Just give Paul a seat.
What?
Give Paul a seat.
I see that, yes.
But afterwards, some people wanted to take the seeds. You said,
Yeah.
No, you can take one, you can take
Everybody
one.
wants to take it.
Yeah, because I've done it once and I was walking and people said, yeah, my goal was, I don't know what to say about this. He wants to help me.
Who wants to help her? Anybody want to help her? No?
Because I think this touch is, in a lot of your performance, important.
It's very important. The choice, the material must be the material. So,
But not only how it looks, but also how it feels.
yes, how it feels.
The other thing that was really interesting about your performance is that you created that environment for yourself where you would be able to breathe. It's not like somebody did it to you, which changed it a bit. It was very methodical.
Yeah.
You set it up, and then you climbed in, you closed it up, and then you proceeded to breathe, but less with less and less and less.
Yes, and I tried with the space, smaller. Yeah. I wanted more, but I didn't manage. So somehow I didn't succeed in the image I wanted to reach, I failed. Because I wanted more, but I was not fast enough. It was like okay.
So the opposite happened in Andrée's, with regard to audience engagement. I think the opposite happened, outcome happened between Andrée, where they were polar opposites in a way. That Eduardo raised the audience response to a fevered pitch. It was like, it was very. Yeah, we were there. Yes, Paul. And Andrée, you could hear the room, you could feel the room getting quieter and quieter, quieter. I mean, it was very quiet. People were reluctant to disturb. And that's very interesting because we're both dealing with restraint and, being confined and constrained, but completely opposite responses. And of course, I don't think your performance was at all humorous, whereas Eduardo and Francesca were both playing off the "this is funny, not so funny" kind of thing. Do you want to talk about your use of humor at all, Eduardo? It just happens, right?
Yeah.
But there's a part in the performance we control. We have our concept, and there's a part we don't control that we don't understand. It can happen. Maybe I have that in other performances, but we cannot explain everything. the audience understand the part. When I watch somebody's performance, I look at the concept, but like quote and but I read something else as well. I discover the person who is revealing herself, and so there's different levels in a performance, different inputs.
But it's interesting how there are a lot of performances where facial expression either doesn't happen. But in your case, and in Francesca's case, you couldn't see it was really important. I mean, it's like whether or not you're telling the story or not, we are trying to be how you want to be in that very moment, right? And I saw it open, you did that pretty clearly. From the very beginning all the way through. And it's not just about exasperation with physicality, it's something else. So I thought that was, and also because you are a dancer and you talked about tasks, but it's like, it's not about being theatrical, but it's about this mechanics art.
For me, talking about the response of the audience, in Calgary 2 years ago, I showed this performance, and during the entire performance, the audience was absolutely quiet.
Interesting.
Absolutely quiet. It's very different, you know. It's, that's what I think that you don't, as we were talking, that you don't build the tension. You don't take it for granted. It's not. It's happening. It happens, and it's like a real moment between the audience and the performer that things happens. Yes, and sometimes laughing, but sometimes it's not laughing. It's good. Not have the same response.
Well, it's 2:30.
Yeah.
And our panel said we don't want to go till 3 because we're uncomfortable. So I think, given how jam-packed the rest of the day is, we'd like to end unless anyone has a burning question. And we will hang around and we can talk informally. There might be less.
There's also food and coffee.
There's food and coffee. And drink the coffee now because it gets really crappy in about 2 hours, you know, in about an hour. It's going to taste really bad.